Boa tarde a todos. Queria hoje agradecer aqui aos participantes, todo mundo, para a participação, a apresentação dos resultados preliminares do doutorado da estudante de doutorado Tarsila Dantas, que hoje em dia vai apresentar um trabalho do título que é Controle estrutural e textural, exercido no desenvolvimento de cavidades cársticas de dissolução. O Sistema Cárstico Furna Feia, Implicação para reservatórios carbonáticos. Então, vou primeiramente agradecer o nosso membro externo da banca de hoje, o professor Dr. FABRIZIO Agosta, da Universidade da Basilicata, na Itália. O professor FABRIZIO Agosta é um geólogo estrutural esperto em rochas carbonáticas deformadas, fraturadas e deformadas pela ativação de falhas. Queria agradecer o nosso membro interno da banca, o professor Dr. Francisco HILARIO BEZERRA. Ele é um geólogo estrutural e também esperto em rochas carbonáticas fraturadas e castificadas. Queria agradecer aqui do meu lado o co-orientador da estudante Tarsila Dantas, o professor Dr. Francisco Lima Filho Pinheiro. Ele é um esperto di sedimentologia di silico classico e também di rocha carbonática. E, novamente, queria agradecer todos os participantes que hoje em dia vão escutar a apresentação dos dados preliminares, dos resultados preliminares de Tarsila. Só para lembrar para todo mundo, especialmente a Tarsila, que você, Tarsila, vai ter à disposição um máximo de 40 minutos para apresentar os teus resultados preliminares. Depois, nós, juntos com todas as bancas, vamos ficar em uma sala virtual para as arguições. Então, Tarsila, boa sorte e boa apresentação.
Obrigada. Vou só compartilhar aqui um momentinho. Todo mundo está vendo e me ouvindo bem?
Sim. Sim, Tarsila.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tarsila Dantas. I'm going to present now my qualifying exam for my ongoing work on my thesis. The main title of my thesis is Structural and Textural Control Exerted on Dissolutional Cavity Development, the Furna Feia Cave System, Case Study Brazil, Implication for Carbonate Reservoirs. The examining committee, I would like to thank you guys for the advisements you're going to give me and the comments. I had Professor VINCENZO as my first advisor, and Professor Pinheiro. And for my examining committees, Francisco HILARIO and FABRIZIO Agosta. So for my ongoing thesis, I'm working on two papers. The first paper is more elaborated already and is nominated Non-Matrix Pores from High Permeability Carbonate Layers, the Furna Feia Cave in the Potiguar Basin, Brazil. And the second paper is, we have already some preliminary data. I'm going to show some of them for you guys. And is nominated as Structural Controls in Furna Feia Cast System Regional to Outcrop Scale. So the first paper I was talking about is focused on the metric scale dissolution that features we found in Furna Feia Cave. So we have already in literature a lot of classifications about pores. Mostly of them focus on size pores, on the size, the classes of the sizes. So and between them, we are focusing on Choquette and Prey because it's a classification that is already very used in geoscience community. But in cavernous pores and megapores, we have it's a lack of geometry classification. So Fernandes Ibanez gives some classification for these pores. He classifies on matrix and non-matrix pores, and the non-matrix pores are fractures and casts, and he did that for carbonate reservoirs. So it's very applied on our Furna Feia cave that is analog for carbonate reservoirs. So Furna Feia cave is located in northeast Brazil, in the west portion of Potiguar Basin. It's a cave here in blue, developed in Jandaíra Formation. And already here, I'm going to show you in the results the GPR profile also. So here's Furna Feia. And we can see here some structures from Potiguar Basin heat. And we have this central part here, and we have a detail here, Poço Verde Caraúba's fault zone. And we believe the extension of this fault is affecting some structures we found in Furna Feia cave. This is some preliminary data showing some structures from the central region from Poço Verde Caraúba's fault zone. And we are going to talk about this in second paper, but some data here show some correlation already. So for geological context of Furna Feia and mainly Potiguar Basin, we have we have the start of development of Potiguar Basin in early Cretaceous in two rift phases. So Graba is open in extension directly northwest, southeast, and then shifted to second rift phase oriented east to west in the direction of the extension. In late Cretaceous to Miocene, we have a transitional and post-rift phases with Atlantic opening. And it's a thermosubsidence phase, but it's not only a passive margin phase. The literature founded some structures oriented indicating north-south compression and east-west extension, forming some east-west stylolites and some north-south calcite veins and fractures. And then this post-rift, this stress shifted from Miocene to present to east-west compression and north-south extension, forming some inclines south from our area with local fracture corridors with localized a lot of karst features in Jandaíra Formation. So Jandaíra Formation developed in these post-rift sequences, but all these structures I mentioned, they affect the post-rift sequences. And Jandaíra Formation developed in late Cretaceous in a context of a shallow marine environment forming a carbonate ramp. And Furna Feia cave developed on these deposits in the Cenozoic. So for this work, we are talking about, we use a lot of interdisciplinary data. So we use it unmanned aerial vehicle for mapping the surface. We used LiDAR for mapping the cave. And inside the cave, we took some samples and did a log profile. And with these plugs was possible to measure some petrophysics properties. And also we took some samples for thin section analysis in the microscope. So the first results in field analysis showed us three main bed packages. So we have bed package 1 here in the bottom region, bed package 2 in the middle portion of the cave walls, and bed package 3 in the upper region and cave ceiling. Here we can see in detail, they are very horizontal layers. They have a lot of vuggy aspects, but these vugs, they have different sizes varying from each bed package. From thin sections, also with field analysis, we could classify 10 faces, 10 carbonatic faces varying from calcitic to dolomitic. So we have floodstone, roadstones, grainstones, Mostly the grainstones are bedded. We have some planar cross bed and through cross bedding. And starting in bed package 1, we can see these grainstones, roadstones, flowstones, and packstones are bedded and pointing paleocurrent to northeast and north. They have a lot of, they are bioclastic faces and have a lot of fossil content, and they show miliolids, echinoids, bivalves, green and red algae, and this is similar to the bed package 3 here. The difference is that the paleocurrent in bed package 3 points to northeast direction. Bed package 2 is in the middle of them, separating these two odors that I talked about. And the fossil content is a little different because bryozoas took place over green algae, indicating it's a different fossil content, and also it's the bed package 2 contains the dolomitization more important. So we have dollostones and dolomitic and dolomitic grainstones. Separated then, we have the bed packages. We have these harder surface that are being discussed in GPR section. Looking at thin sections, we could classify types of cements and the mesoscale solution. There are the 4 types. So we have in bed 1, it's in the lowest bed in the floor of the cave. We have some dolomitization in anhedral crystals and very cloudy, but we have more calcite occurring as mostly syntaxial cement around the echinoids, and the pores are mainly vug and interparticle pores in the matrix. Going to bed 3, that is a roadstone is bedded. We have a lot of algae content that I mentioned before, and we have coarser grains, but the pores are not that significant. We have moldic and a little bit vuggy pores, but they are more discrete. In the flowstones in bed 5, this bed 5 limits bed package 1 and 2. We have only calcite cements, and we have a lot of these fringes around some fossils, mostly of them in this granular look, and we have a little bit of dolomite, but it's very discrete. The dominant pore type is intercrystalline type between these fringes of calcite. In bed package 2, we have the fossil contents shifting to bryozoan. We have the dolomites occurring in more important way, that the content of dolomites increases here in bed package 2. So we have euhedral and clear crystals that are a little bit sometimes more dissolved, forming these intracrystalline pores. And here in bed 7, these 2 images are from bed 7. We have the dolomitization took almost all the samples, and we have 80 and 90% of dolomites in these samples. And we have the 2 dolomites occurring. We have these unclear and anhedral cloudy dolomites, and they are finer. And we have these euhedral coarser dolomites, and they are more clear. These dolomites more clear, it's a detail here. We can see they surround these ghost fossil from calcites. So here they already took all the possible former, I don't know, former great fossil, and they crystallize it this way, surround these ghost fossils. Here is also very clear to see that. It's in bed package 2. In bed 8, that is the limit of bed package 2, we have the calcite, or it is the main content of cement, but we have some dolomite. But the calcite is very micritized, and the pore content is only moldic, some vuggy, but they are small and not well connected. Already in back package 3, we can see here in bed 9, all content of cement is calcite. We have a lot of moldic vugs from former dolomites, but moldic pore types, and they connecting themselves, forming some vugs. But the cement is also some fringes around the fossils and fossil traces, and some blocky cement, all calcite. In bed 9 and here in bed 10, we have a diversity of calcite cements, blocky, syntaxial, fringe, and the main content of pores is intrafossil type. Here we can see some in here, and some of intercrystalline around the calcite rings. In bed package 3, the bedded algae grainstones, the fossils have smaller sizes, and the main content of porosity is inside the fossils. So we have intercrystalline and intrafossil pore type, or seja, it's not connected. And here, when we achieve the ceiling of the cave, we have the dolomitization took place, but not completely. The dolomitization increases, but don't reach calcite content. So we have 20-30% of dolomite, and the main content of pores is intracrystalline. Here in the cave, the pavement above the cave, we have also dolomites, but they are smaller, they're finer, and they're not so well as the cave ceiling, and also the porosity is more discrete, and when it appears, it's only intracrystalline way. So also we did petrophysics from the same samples of the thin sections, and we could see here the displacement. There's in the log profile and the permeability, mesoporosity, and uniaxial compression strain, and also some dissolutional discussed in next section. Here we can see a porosity against permeability distribution, and in package 1, the yellow dots, we can see there are two groups of samples in distribution thermoporosity values. This group here is more porous and is less dolomatized. So that samples I commented that has a little bit of dolomite, they are less porous. In bed package 2, the yellow dots and the blue dots and the blue line here, they also has two groups of porosity, and the same thing occur, but this group up here is of samples in the bed contact, and these samples with less porous and less permeable, they are more dolomatized samples. The samples from the bed package 3 in the red dots, I took them the ceiling and the pavement because they are away from the curve. So we had the best fit, and we have the pavement is not, the pores are not connected because the permeability is low, but is a similar porosity than the samples from the bed package 3. And the ceiling is the opposite. We have a little porosity and a very permeable sample. But all the samples are proximal to the values from the bed package 1 and 3. We can see here the porosity is similar to bed package 2, but the 2 and 3 are smaller than bed package 1. The permeability is the same. The bed package 1 is discretely more permeable than the other ones, but the bed package 3 is less permeable. Concerning to uniaxial compression strain, we have a highlight of the samples from bed package 2, but we have a distributed, they are distributed one. So we have two groups, where the less strong, as we can say, and the higher values of uniaxial compression strength, but a broader distribution, but the median values are higher than bed package 1 and 3. The calcite content, as expected, in bed package 2 is lower because we have a greater dolomitization, and bed package 1 and 3 has higher values of calcite, but bed package 3 has a little bit more of dolomite, so the values are a bit smaller. When we go to the field trip, we could analyze some dissolution features at the surface above the cave. So we have a lot of northwest fractures in the pavement of Furna Feia Park. And here we can see some veins in northwest direction. Here we can see some fractures, also northwest, in an echelon geometry. Probably these were veins that is dissolved now. And here we have a beautiful dilational jog that is seen left lateral cinematics. And we have these probably veins dissolved in northwest direction, connected with these east-west splay joints, and around them some more east-west display joints, and some northwest veins parallel to this main structure here in the dilational jog. Along the pavement, we can see these northwest fractures, they are more dissolved and more longer, they are bigger. We can see even a metric scale 1 dissolved 20 centimeters, but we can see in some of the regions that it's not very fractures, and we have dissolutional plans. There is only dissolutional features and not directional like the largest fractures in the other areas. We can see some lapia, and orientated along the same direction, northwest, east, southeast direction, we can see some dolines. This is one that connects to Furna Feia Cave, and is 1-2 meters open, and is a shaft that you can enter the Furna Feia Cave. Inside the cave, the subsurface dissolution, we can see some features. So we can see these metric dome-like features. They are some oblate shape, and they are localized in bed package 3. We can see some vuggy centimetric scale in bed package 2. Here we can see a zoom in this area, and we can see a detail of this vuggy and very oblate geometry in this vuggy in bed package 2. Here is bed 8 that limits bed package 3 and 2. Here we can see all the domic features in bed package 2, and they are like inverted drop, but they are less frequent than these features of oblate ones, but they are repeatedly all along the cave wall. Still in bed package 2, we can see some enlarged fractures. They are mainly orientated accordingly with northwest direction. Here is bed 7. You can see that's the main centimetrical metric porosity. You can see another kind of porosity here, only the fractures. Here we achieve the bed package 1. This is bed 5 that limits bed package 2 and bed package 1. And you can see that's a vuggy and weaker, and it's very porous layer and thin layer, has a 10 centimeters. And here we can see bed 4, but it's still in bed package 1. It's a lot of smaller vugs, but it's still centimetric vugs. And here we have a detail of these centimetric vugs. So it's 1 centimeters, but they occur in bed package 1 and they are very frequent. So with LiDAR data, we could first map the cave, and we took a detailed analysis in this shadow area. And we also took mapped the directions of the galleries of the cave. So we can see here, the cave has a principal direction in northwest direction, and also some galleries in east-west and northeast. So you can see the cave itself is mainly directed northwest, but the galleries northwest are connected in galleries northeast and east-west directions. This shadow area is this colorful one. We can see here the 3 bed patches I'm talking about. So here in red, we can observe the bed package 3. And you can see also the shape of these domes I was talking about. So you can see these metric geometries and the very domic and oblate shape in 3D view. And also you can see they are very concentrated in bed package 3. Bed package 2, it's where the cave expands horizontally. So this bed package in blue is a bed package 2, and you can see the cave is wider horizontally. Here we have some profiles of the cave indicating each bed package. Here in yellow we have bed package 1 in this sharp area, and you can see this extension I'm talking about and the concentration of the domes. They are called cupolas or pockets, depending on size, and they are concentrated in bed package 3. So, looking at the LiDAR data, we could slice them horizontally. So we did a lot of draws of the cave walls, and then we measured the area of each of these polygons that we drew. So for bed package 3, we did 4. In the middle of each bed, the bed package 2, we did 4 also. And bed package 1, we did 5 measures for each bed in the middle of each bed. And analyzing the area in square meters, we can see that bed package 2 has a broader area. It's the biggest area. So comparatively, we can associate that dissolution intensity is greater in bed package 2 and is similar in bed package 3 and 1. Also, with the LiDAR data, it was possible to fit some ellipses in these cupolas and pockets. Pockets are called the same domic features, but when they are smaller than 1.5 meters, and cupolas are the biggest than that. So in bed package 2, we can see the majority of them is pockets, so they are smaller. In bed package 3, they have similar amount. And analyzing the size of them, the biggest axis of each of these ellipses, we can see that the length in bed package 3 is greater and bigger, achieving 9, almost 10 meters, but the concentration in the medium values are around 2. And in bed package 2, we are only achieve 5 meters, and the medium is a little bit lower than bed package 3, achieving 1.5, 1.8, something like that. This red line here is the limit between pockets and cupolas. Analyze the elongation, or as it say, it is a sphere, a circle, or a ellipse. So you can see that some of them, the biggest axis is longer than the smaller one. So this ratio, we calculated that to see the elongation of these features. So also in bed package 3, we have they are longer, so they are elongated more than bed package 2 that achieved only the ratio of 2.5. So bed package 3 has more cupulas, they are bigger, and they are more elongated. And analyzing the direction of all of these pockets and cupulas, we can see also they are directed mainly in northwest direction, or as you can see here, but some of them also are directed northeast. Here is a snapshot of the LiDAR content in Cloud Compare. And you can see some cupulas we measured. So here we have almost 2 meters long and the height of, almost 4 meters long and of almost 2 meters of height. And here we have some pockets in the bed package 2, confirming that it is the more frequent. And here we have a violin chart showing the distribution and the frequency in each of the elevations. So here they are matching the bed package 2 limit here, and you can see the proportion of the greater presence of these cupulas and pockets in bed package 3. So we took this data, the data of the horizontal dissolution that I talked about, that the bed package 2 has the biggest dissolution horizontally, and that we measured in square meters, and we compared to the petrophysics data of the host rocks. So the UCS values show that ascending, trending, they have an ascending correlation, and the bed package 2 show the higher values of UCS, and is the more dissolved one. Looking at the permeability, we can see the contrary. We have a descending curve with a greater correlation than UCS, but it's a descending curve showing the bed package 2 has the lowest permeability and show and what is the more dissolved one. And here we took the porosity, the mesoporosity, or the porosity measured the petrophysics, and it's the same. It's a descending curve. The correlation is smaller, but it showed a descending curve showing that the smaller amount of small pores, the millimetric pores, so you have a metric dissolution scale. So you have the greater gigaporosity. The ground penetrating radar that we took here above the cave showed when we have this is where the cave and the LiDAR data of the cave crosses the profile of the GPR, and here is the profile. Showed us 5 radar faces and 2 radar surfaces. In the radar faces 1 is corresponding to our bed package 1, radar faces 2 corresponds to radar face to bed package 2, and radar faces 3 corresponds to radar faces 3, or bed package 3. Here we have a reverberation sound, signal, and if you can see here, when we take a zoom, that is very stronger than the other radar faces. This is the location of the cave. But this similar signal is founded here in smaller proportion, and it's the same radar faces, and it indicates to us that here we have all the empty cavity. This radar faces 5 is an interesting data that we look at, and we see that the radar faces 2 is weakened. So you have smaller amplitudes, but you can see there are still some horizontal continuities, but the amplitudes are weaker, but you can see this continuity indicating us that maybe this is an empty cavity before and then was filled with sediments. So it's weaker because probably some clay sediments, but you can still see the continuity of the position. So this is our interpretation, showing the cave position here, and the cave drawing we took from LiDAR data. So here you can see the same, where is the line that crosses the GPR profile, and we did this draw. And also we draw the filled cavities I was talking about in green, and the other cavity here, empty cavity here. The HADA surface that I didn't mention before is interesting because the HADA surface 1 is where this amplitude is negative, and HADA phase 2 is where these amplitudes are positive. So you have a blue and brighter and stronger color signal here with great continuity. And in HADA surface 2, you have a red surface, as it can be said. In this other trace here above along the cave, you can see that the amplitudes are exaggerated. They are doubled or 2 or 3 times bigger than the regular ones. So here they are in the same scale. So you can see how exaggerated they are. It's effect because the difference between the rock properties and the air properties in the cave area, and the electromagnetic signal when it comes and reflects a lot of times, and when it reaches the GPR, it augmented and multiplies the signal. So another result from GPR, besides the mapping these all the cavities and mapping the bed packages, is that you have a lot of fractures that was possible to mapping because it took the vertical discontinuities and mapped this. And you can see that in bed package 3 is the most fractured one, but some fractures also occurs in bed package 2. And the distribution of the cavities is along bed package 2. So bed package 2 is besides its more distribution, the dissolution is more dissolved inside Furna Feia cave, has a lot of other cavities along the bed package 2. Taking this data, comparing to the classifications in the literature, we can see that bed package 1 in Choquette-Bray classifications concentrates the mesopores and vug types of porosity. So they are more matrix pores, but non-matrix, some vugs as non-matrix pores when they increase to centimetric size. But all the cave shows no matrix pores because we have a lot of pockets, cupolas, and the cave itself. Another way to show that is using the Fernandes-Ibanez ternary diagram. And you can see that the vugs and matrix pores are concentrated in bed package 1 in yellow. And all this region of no matrix pores, we can see the bed package 3 and bed package 2. So you have fractures on both of them. You have enlarged fractures in both of them, mainly in bed package 3 in the surface. And the cave itself is more developed in bed package 2. In bed package 3, you have more pockets and cupolas. So this is the classifications of the bed packages for this matrix and non-matrix classification of Fernandes-Ibanez. Besides that, we did this block diagram to show the distribution of the dissolution features. So you have, besides the cave, you have another cavities along bed package 2, and you have the enlargement of the cavity, mostly in the middle of the bed 7, that is more fractured and is more dolomitized. But also you have some of domic features as cupolas and pockets. They develop, the development of them is more greater in bed package 3. That is the more fractured one. And in the ceiling of the cave and the surface, you have another horizon of dolomite, but it's more discrete than the bed package 2. So looking at this, also we have the thin sections provided as a classification of faces association. So we have a tidal bar 1 and 2, there are these bed package 1 and 3, and the bed package 2 is a lagoon environment. So, and the fossil content, as I said before, is shifted. And looking at this distribution of host rocks, we have the petrophysics properties as UCS and calcite. You can see the UCS is greater in lagoon faces, and calcite is very smaller because dolomite took place here, and you have some dolomitization in the top of the cave. And the cupolas and pockets variation, we have zero, almost zero in bed package 1, and increasing the bed package 2, and the contact of them, we have a diminution, but we have a peak in bed package 3. And the horizontal dissolution, we can see this qualitative curve here of greater dissolution in bed package 2, and also in bed package 3, but this difference in bed package 1 and 3, I believe it's given by the presence of the cupolas in bed package 3. And all of this data allowed us, all this data allowed us to put some history of the cave Furna Feia development. So we have a primary deposition of the Jandaíra formation in a lot of diagenetic development, but dolomitization in some parts of these layers, and some calcite veins after that. And in bigger scale, we can see that these probably former veins was dissolved, and they gave space for the fluid dissolve these layers and form the cupolas and pockets oriented along the same fractures direction. And after that, these cupolas and pockets were coalesced, and you can see that the cave was formed. As conclusions of this work, we could show that discontinuities controls the dissolution intensity. So that it's not a new, but we proved that Furna Feia cave has a tectonic control. Besides, it's not directly, but the data shows that the major northwest southeast direction in the Furna Feia galleries, pockets, and cupolas corresponds to fossil verde regional fault system in the surface and the subsurface, and the bed content indirectly controls the occurrence of fractures as the dolostones and dolomitic layers occur. So you have the biggest intense dissolution values, and you have the fracture layers, as I said before. And in this bed package 2, that is the dolostones and dolomitic layers, we have mod intracrystal porosity dominant, they are dominant, and we have low values of permeability, showing us we have no matrix control for the Furna Feia formation. So these no matrix bigger pores, they are deformed Furna Feia, but they are intensely controlled by tectonics and bed contact indirectly. Well, for the second paper, we are going to analyze better the structural controls that we identified preliminarily in the first paper. So the current title of the second paper is Structural Controls in Furna Feia Karst System, Regional to Outcrop Scale. So we have a draft for this paper with introduction, a geological setting focusing in fossil-verde fault system. The methods we are going to use are regional to outcrop scale and surface and subsurface data. To regional scale structural analysis, we have satellite images from SRTM, and it's possible to do scan lines and scan areas with this data. And subsurface, we have 2D and 3D seismics to analyze the post-surveyed fault and map the structures and the extension of this fault. In outcrop scale, we can analyze the structural geology at the surface with the UV images, and we can also do scan lines and scan areas with this data. And in subsurface, we can use the GPR data to analyze also scan lines and scan areas vertically. And discussions and conclusions. Well, as I said before, Poço Verde is a northwest directed fault zone, and in literature it's mapped already, only into here, but we believe that we have an influence of this fault system. We have the satellite image covering this area, so we cover all the Poço Verde fault system, and in C the Furna Feia location. So, and here we have, and the UV data we have also the image and the elevation of the surface. And the method is for the surface using hue shade every 45 azimuth grades, so you can analyze at every shade differently, achieving the topographic model that we have. We already did the line drawing of the main lineaments in the SRTM and UAB, and that we can do P21 maps and scan lines and scan areas. The P21 maps, they was done in GIS environment using a radius that for this circumference that we give to the GIS, the radius value, the grid cell value, and the length of the multiple lineaments that are inside this circumference. And the grid cell, it will be the value of the P21 of this circumference. So with that, we can do a P21 map. For subsurface, we can use GPR data and seismic to analyze better these structures. So we have seismic ongoing work to mapping some of the structures of Poço Verde fault. We have these three cubes, but this green one is outside of the area, so we are going to use the blue one and the orange one. And here is the Furna Feia cave and the probable extension of Poço Verde fault. And here we have some preliminary data of surface regional structural analysis, and we can see that with the scan areas along Poço Verde fault, we have obviously the greater intensity, the greater P21 values, and the greater connectivity in scan area 3. But we have also in scan area 1, where is Furna Feia, similar values of connectivity and P21, etc. So we intend to use these data to compare and to analyze the extension of the fault. Also, we did some scan lines along the regional surface data. So here are some examples. We have these three scan lines here. We have numbers of fractures, spacing, length, and P21 distribution. Scan line 1 is the only that crosses Furna Feia here. So we put the location of the cave, also the location of the Poço Verde fault to compare the frequencies and the P21 values and etc. And these thinner lines here are the oldest faults mapped in Potiguar Basin Rift. For regional scale, for subsurface, we have already some data of seismic. So we have of these two cubes I said before. We have also some profiles around Furna Feia cave, and we have the basement top and top of this seismic cube here, blue one, and showing the start of the Poço Verde extension here. And in seismic cube 2, we did the mapping of the main faults of Furna Feia fault system. To outcrop scale, we have already some scan lines and scan areas from UAV. Here is example of two scan lines, here and here. They are orthogonal with each other. We have the cave location to compare. The preliminary data is showing that it's more fractures are around Furna Feia cave and not above. And also we have some scan areas for UAV data, confirming that the mainly fractures areas are outside the cave and not above the cave. And here we have some values and the connectivity charts. And also we started to do P21 mapping in vertical direction, using GPR profiles. So it's the same profile from the last paper, and we took the fracture mapping and used the same method of GIS to give us this P21 mapping, and we also can do some scenarios and scan lines to analyze the distribution of the fractures. But preliminarily, we can see that the P21 is greater or outside the cave than above the cave. And that's it. Many thanks for you guys to watching me. And I'm waiting for your comments.
Ok, Tarsila. Obrigado pela apresentação. Também se foi um pouco mais longa, mas tá bom, sem problema. Então, eu acho que agora é o momento onde eu vou agradecer novamente todos os participantes que estão presentes no live. Eu vou pedir gentilmente para Jasmine. Jasmine, me está ouvindo? Eu vou pedir se, por favor, você pode parar à direita o live no YouTube, e assim nós vamos ir para uma outra sala virtual para as fruições com a banca do professor Agosta, do professor Francisco Hilário Bezerra. você me fala quando estamos liberados. Ok, estamos aqui outra vez de volta com os membros da banca externa, o doutor professor Fabrizio Agosta e o professor doutor Francisco Hilario Bezerra, perto de mim o co-orientador, o professor Francisco Lima Filho, para conferir o green light, a luz verde para Tarsila continuar no desenvolvimento da tese de doutorado dela. Então, Tarsila, parabéns por o percurso que você está evoluindo e como você está evoluindo. Vamos enfrentar agora as últimas etapas do seu doutorado nesse último ano para atingir a conclusão final com a publicação do artigo e a submissão também do segundo artigo. Parabéns, Tarsila.
Sei que já falou aprovada.
Está aprovada.
Aê!
Está aprovada, tenho de falar a palavra está aprovada. Ok, perfeito, é isso. Tenho de deixar...
Obrigada.
Thank you, Fabrizio.
Thank you,
Thank you, Hilario.
Ok, many thanks. Muito obrigado, professor Fabrizio, pela disposição, pelo tempo lá na Itália e boa sorte por as suas condições para melhorar você.
Bravo, Tarsila, complimenti.
Obrigada.
Obrigado. Thanks, Fabrizio.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Fabrizio.
Pinheiro, fica um minutinho aí com o Vincenzo, por favor.
Ok.
Então,